Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lori Jones, president of Fidelis Wealth Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Well, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'd like to just thank Amy so much for doing this for us. I really appreciate it. I've gotten to know Amy over the last couple of months, and I'm so excited about what she's doing with the Economic Literacy Colorado. And I've gotten to be kind of a friend personally. And I'm so excited that she's going to present to us today. So this is Amy Sherman. She's the president and CEO of the Economic Literacy Colorado. And I'm going to start out with some questions today. We're going to take just a tiny bit of a different format today. So Amy, the first question I have, and it's a question I always ask, I am a reader, but a stack of books, probably 5 or 6 high on my shelf, and I love reading. So give us your best book suggestions. What do you love?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, Lori. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you and the team. And of course, I adore CM Cheney and your whole office. So thanks so much for having me. It'll be fun to chat today, especially because I grew up in Castle Rock, where your office is located. So thanks for having me. About books. So I would say my favorite author is Brené Brown, and I think I've read almost all of her books. My favorite Brené Brown book is Dare to Lead, and that book came to me when I was chairing the Douglas County Education Foundation during a really political school board election, and someone gave it to me and said, thank you for being in the arena instead of the stands. And so I read it, and there's pretty good concepts about being brave when it's hard and being vulnerable when it's hard and living your values, and then just stepping up and learning to rise as a leader. So that was one of my favorite Brené Brown books. The one that my audiobook, I actually have it here, but this one is my audiobook now. It's Atlas of the Heart, and it goes through all of the emotions that we feel during our life and kind of talks through them. That one I'm doing on audio. And then the other one I'm reading right now is Together We Decide. It's not an author I'm familiar with, Greg Freshley, but it's about how to make group decisions. And I love working with my team at ELC, and it's also good for family decisions. So those are the ones I'm reading right now. This year, I joined a book club for the first time as an empty nester goal, and with some of the moms that I grew up with in the elementary school kids school. And we just finished Lessons in Chemistry and All the Light We Cannot See, and they both happen to be series on the internet recently. So that's been fun to read those books and then watch them on Netflix. So that's what I'm doing on the book front.
I actually have All the Light We Cannot See sitting second in my stack next to my bed there. So I was super excited about that one. I love those. I love that I've been reading and watching a lot of Simon Sinek, and he talks about training leaders. And a lot of those books are training, are helping hone your skills as a leader. So I can see that coming through in what you're doing. So tell me just a little bit about your journey. How did you get where you are today? How did you start out? Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I grew up in Castle Rock with my big brother and my parents, and my mom was a banker at First Bank. And so I got to run around Castle Rock and spend a lot of time at the bank. So I really admired her and her career. And she was on the Castle Rock Chamber board of directors when I was in high school and suggested I get a job there. So I worked there after school selling maps of Castle Rock and just really loved the community feel of that. And then I went to University of Kansas and worked at the Lawrence, Kansas Chamber in the summertime and did stories for their newsletter and did surveys on the highway about why people were coming through Kansas. And it was just really a fun job. So after college, I applied to all the chambers in the state of Colorado and got a job at the Longmont Chamber, where I was there for 3 years. And during that time, my husband and I got married and wanted to return to Douglas County. So we built a house in Roxborough and got married. And so we were down here, and I did two short little jobs at the Colorado Tourism Office and National Potato Council, both of which I loved, but they either outsourced my job or moved it to Washington, D.C. So at 28, I applied for the West Metro Chamber of Commerce job as the president and CEO, and I got it. And so that was kind of the beginning of my leadership roles in the chamber industry. And I was there for 10 years and I loved it. And during that time, we had our twins, Max and Ashley. And then in 2011, I decided that I wanted to be closer to home with them for school. And we started the Northwest Douglas County Economic Development Corporation in Roxborough, where Sterling Ranch was starting to build their master plan development. And that was a planned decision for us so that I could drive the kids to and from school, which is one of my favorite things that I ever got to do. And then I was there for 10 years, where we also merged the Highlands Ranch Chamber into our organization. So it's the Northwest Douglas County Chamber in ADC. And then last year, about this time, my kids were at college and my husband had a new career going. He had retired from CDOT, and I had planned to be the constant in our family. And I saw this job on LinkedIn for the president CEO of Economic Literacy Colorado. And I thought, what an amazing mission. I knew that my predecessor from a previous project we worked on, and I looked into it and I thought that is definitely what I want to do next. I love the mission. I love everything about it. And I started in February, and here I am.
That's amazing. And it's interesting how the different steps in your life kind of got you, where you're at. You tried new things, and you really did. You were brave, so it moved you on your journey. What's so talking about economic literacy and investment, what is the best investment that you feel along this journey that you really made in yourself? Like if you had to say, this thing led to my success, or I was successful, maybe I wouldn't have been successful if I hadn't done this. What do you think?
Well, one of them, I will tell you, when the twins were little, they were probably 3 or 4. I think I was struggling being like a mom and a full-time work, boss. And so I went to this conference in Pagosa Springs, and we happened to have like a life coach as one of the sessions. And I remember he was from Golden, and he was talking about a lot of things about gratitude. And I got to talking with him later that day and was telling him like, oh, I'm struggling so hard. I'm not doing anything well. It's so hard to be a mom. It's so hard to be a boss. It's so hard to run a nonprofit. And he said, like, meet me outside in a little bit. And we were right by the river in Pagosa Springs. And we went and we took off our shoes and we sat on a rock. And he just totally changed my mindset to, instead of like how hard it is to be this and that, like how awesome it is to be this and that. And you have an amazing life to get to do all of these things. And so I did work with him for several months. And what came out of that was every morning I wake up and I say 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for before I get out of bed.
Mhm.
And so I do it every day, no matter what, even if I'm in a hurry. And so I think that just set my mindset a little different from being a working mom to like, I am living my dream and how awesome is this? And I just think gratitude was one of the big changes for me instead of being stressed out waking up. So that was a big one. And then I mentioned the other one was when I made the decision to work from home and be closer to the kids and take them to school and drop them off. And someone had told me once that, you never get that time back with your kids, but big conversations happen in the car. And so I was just so grateful that I made that decision to, even if it was 5 minutes or 30 minutes to a soccer game, just the driving time with my kids to be able to talk to them was one of the best decisions I made for our family.
Yeah, I love that. You talk about being a little hard on yourself. Women are a little bit hard on themselves sometimes. We feel like maybe sometimes we should be superwoman and do all of the things. And when we find out we're human and we can't necessarily do all of the things all of the time, I think that that idea of gratitude and being grateful for what you have, but also showing gratitude to yourself. You know, you you are enough, and you are enough just who you are. And I think it's great that you love taking your kids to school. I had 5 of them, and I would have gladly checked that off my list. So I love that you got.
I did want to like stop and improve the drop off process for the entire school, but I held back.
Yeah,
I would say a couple of years ago, my staff and I were talking about it was an all female staff, and we were discussing life balance in general. And we made up a new rule for ourselves that we had to do 1 hour for ourselves a day. And it could be a dog walk, it could be reading, it could be exercise, cooking, whatever, but you needed to just be with yourself for 1 hour a day. And we implemented that. And I still do that too. And and my husband does it too. And so as empty nesters, we each get to spend an hour of our own time every evening doing something for ourselves because that just helps with, I think, life balance in general.
I think it does. And I think that's a good point too. I am not great at that, but Sky and Riley and Carly sometimes help me on that journey. So I do think it's really important to take time to refill your own bucket. So, what is the worst advice someone gave you? And did you take it, or what did you learn?
Well, it's hard for me. Yeah, I couldn't really think of any worst advice someone gave me. So, like when you're interviewing for a job and you turn like what's your weakness into a positive,
Yeah.
I would say my daughter taught me that instead of advice, when someone comes to you, that you ask them if do you want me to listen to you or do you want me to give you advice? And because I probably doled out some bad advice to my kids over time when they really just needed me to listen to them. So that's what I practice now is trying to figure out if people actually want advice or if they just need someone to listen to them.
Huh, that's a good point. And I I probably have done the same with some of my kids as well. What about regrets? Do you have things that you would? I mean, I guess we all have things that we would go back and do just a little bit differently. But if there's something in your journey that you could have changed or done differently, knowing what you know now, what would that be?
Probably some bad advice and regret was that Madonna haircut in 1985 I had with the perm and shaved side. In all seriousness, couple of years ago, 1920, I decided to do some consulting in addition to my job at the Chamber and EDC. And while I thought that I might be moving that direction, it ended up I had like two full-time jobs because I kept my Chamber and EDC job. And I liked them both. But after 6 or 8 months, I was like, I can't do both of these. I need to go one direction or another. So it was a fork in the road. And I stopped the consulting and went back to the Chamber EDC job full time. And I always kind of felt like I took the easy way out on that decision instead of doing the hard things. And, you know, it all worked out great in my pathway, but I always had that like, did I take the easy way out? And I know we can all do hard things. And I just feel like maybe I didn't do the hard thing at that fork in the road.
Mm.
But gave myself some grace and all worked out.
Well, and what did you learn from it? Like, do you think of that when you make decisions and do the hard thing?
What I think I learned from it was something else was waiting for me, which was this position at ELC.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't the right time for me to go down that road. And I just didn't know it at the time.
That's interesting because you don't know what your future is going to bring for you. And if you take one path, sometimes it closes off doors to another path. And sometimes, sometimes you need to be brave and move forward, and it's okay to do it scared. But sometimes it's not quite the right time yet, and you've got a little bit more to learn. I love that.
Right.
So if you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of your journey when you're just starting out, young and enthusiastic, not that you're not young and enthusiastic now, but what would you tell yourself? What would you tell your 20, 21, 22-year-old self?
Well, I think I would remind myself to trust in the journey. Sometimes as a type A person and a planner, that I always thought I had to have it all figured out, but you have no idea what's going to happen from 20 to 50. And so I just would remind myself to trust in that journey, give myself some grace, be myself, be an authentic person. And I think that grows with age. I think as you get older, you're more comfortable being your true self, and probably remind myself, I mean, my core values, I think, are the same as they were when they're 20, but just remind my 20-year-old self that these are the important things to you and to stick with them the whole way through.
I love that idea of authenticity. It was at the Economic Literacy Council event that you had Gargi Chaudhry speak, and she was talking to one of your young ladies who said she had stuffed her shoes with toilet paper to get up on the stage. And I remember being in that space where I'm like, well, you have to wear the button-down shirt, you have to stuff your shoes, you have to all times look really professional. And Gargi said, you don't have to stuff your shoes to be professional, to show in this space. And I that kind of really struck me as a very authentic place to be, and something really great we're teaching the young women coming up.
I think I just read authentic is the word of the year, but my word of the year was enough. So it's interesting you brought that up earlier. That was my word of the year that I chose for myself in January.
Oh, I like that. Do you do that each year? Just choose a word that...
Not always. As part of New Year's resolutions, I kind of do some goal setting, make lists of when I want. Usually do it around my birthday and like make a list of gratitude for how many years I am or what I want to do next year. Currently, I'm within this empty nester list of things to do. But my mom and I have been talking about the word enough a lot. And I also was on a Zoom with someone recently that had it painted on their wall. So, I mean, it can mean so many different things. I do enough, I am enough. So there's just so many things that it means to me. So,
Yeah, I like that. What about scary things? What scared you the most when you started out? Does it still scare you?
probably in my 20s, I was most scared of if I could have a family and work at the same time and balance that out. I think my mom, as a banker, worked so many hours, and she did an awesome job raising us. We were the generation of latchkey kids, and I always wondered, like, could I be as good of a mom as my mom and work full time? And so I think that scared me a lot. I remember when we were 30, we were deciding to have kids, and that was number one thing. Like, will I be able to do it all? No, not all the time, all the things very well, but we had a great time with our kids and we made it work. So um, I think it was probably a great partnership with my husband where we had shared household responsibilities. We both had full-time jobs. He loved doing things with the kids. So it was a great partnership, and I'm blessed that we had all of that together because I think it'd be really hard to do by yourself, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Did you make adjustments? You talked about making a change when you had kids so that you could drive them to school. Were there other adjustments that you made to make sure that those dreams came true?
The first few years were more difficult because I was commuting to Jeffco. So we did have a nanny, and she's still in our life. I mean, the kids still text with her often. And I don't think we could have gotten all four of us out of the house at all to daycare and work if we didn't have her helping us for those first 3 years. Then they went to pre-K, and then I was around when they went to school. But we did have to make some adjustments and have a household employee to help us get through the day. Those were hard but fun years.
Yeah, they are. They're well worth it. But you look back sometimes and think, how in the heck did we do that, huh?
I know for sure.
What about, since I work on inspiring young women, were there any challenges that you faced because you were a woman at work? I know that my sister had some problems like maternity leave, and she talks about sitting in a bathroom, trying to pump enough for her daughter to eat. What kind of unique challenges did you run into?
Less than that category, I think my mom kind of paved the way for women in her generation. I know there's still a lot of work to do, but in the nonprofit sector, my board was always super supportive of I took 4 months of maternity leave. I could bring the kids to work if I had to. So I think the hardest thing was if you didn't have a support system around you. But I always had a great staff and a great board that supported family first. So on all the way through. So I think that it was a challenge for me, but I'm not saying it's not a challenge for a lot of women. I was just talking to a woman the other day who was a banker, and during the week of Thanksgiving, something changed and she had to work, but she didn't have daycare. And so the kids had to sit in the lobby of the bank while she did a meeting. Like, it's still a challenge for women for sure. And I think I was just really grateful that my board supported me being a mom, and I took the time off that I needed to. I always took my vacation time. I still do. We traveled with our kids. And so I think it's important to take your vacation time, take that break from work, and spend time as a family.
Yeah, that helps. It helps build memories that last. Have you used some of those examples to make you're farther along your journey now and not just starting out, how do you adjust the way that your office runs so that you can be more family friendly?
We are pretty flexible at our office, and we are even dog friendly. So people can, and we're actually our office, and a lot of them are on this call. We're in a generation where we are dealing with aging parents. So more so than kids, we all have aging parents that we need to take time off to deal with some of that. And so I'm trying to be super flexible because I'm in the same situation. And so it's more of a flexible office. You can work from home. We come together at least on Wednesdays as a team, but we talk all the time during the week. But there's a lot of flexibility because it's not just kids, it's all ages. Every step of your life in those big times where you have a baby or a wedding or a divorce or an aging parent, you need to give your staff the time and the grace to deal with it so they're not stressed out because it's stressful enough.
Yeah. And they are not able to bring their whole self to work if they're busy worrying about what's happening at home or what's happening in their life. I do love the culture has changed to be more accommodating. That's been such a blessing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Amy, what is the thing you are most proud of?
Well, my kids and my family, my twins are now as sophomores in college, and they're just kind-hearted people. They volunteer a lot, and that's one of my core values is participating in your community, and they picked that up from my husband and I, and they do things. And my daughter volunteered at the city last week to pick noxious weeds. I mean, they do great things to be a part of their community and give back, and they're kind and they're smart. So I'm just really proud of them. And I think my parents instilled this in me and my in-laws. They all volunteered in their community and did things outside of work to make the community a better place. My husband and I focused on that, whether it was the PTA or other community nonprofits. So I think they are going to be the same kind of volunteers as we are. And so that I'm really proud of them for that. And I'm proud of the life we built as a family together. And we just were together for the week of Thanksgiving, and we can have laughs and look back at all our travels together. And I think we've done a really good job as a family unit.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice that you continue that legacy of giving back and sharing with your community. And I'm sure that your kids saw that the way you saw it in your parents, they saw it in you as well. So they're able to imagine your grandkids. Your grandkids are going to be great. My kids don't even volunteer to pick up the dishes. So I'm super impressed that they're picking noxious weeds. What advice do you have for someone just starting out that would help her be more successful the way you are?
Well, in this industry that I'm in now, I think the best advice I could give a young person is to learn about financials and learn about money in every different way, whether it's in real estate or investments or compound interest or all the things that we are teaching kids right now through Economic Literacy Colorado. But it was important to me when I took this job, but it's even more important to me now because I've gotten to see kids that have been so positively affected by the things we do. So when I was starting out my career, my first boss in Longmont, he made sure that I did professional development. So I think that's really important. He made sure that I did the full match for our 401k. And I think that's extremely important. But I also think it's important to surround yourself with mentors of all age groups. And when I was 30, I had a best friend who was 40 and 50 and 60 because it's so great to see people from different generations and hear their perspective. So I would say expand your mentors to different generations and have a good work ethic. And, I think it's important to work hard when you're young, trust your journey and, give yourself some grace with life balance. But it takes a lot of hard work in your younger years. And so you got to get that grit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that. I think I would add, I have some mentors that are 20 years younger than me, and they teach me how to use my different technology programs. Even though they have to do it 3 or 4 times, they still teach me that. So I love what you were talking about with the Economic Literacy Development Council, and I love the work you're doing there. Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah. Would this be a good time for me to share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Economic Literacy Colorado. And as you know, it's Colorado Gives Day. So it's a really important day for us and all the nonprofits out there in Colorado. So I'm excited to tell you more about it. Our mission is to equip teachers and students with the knowledge and tools. And we do this so that they have a lifetime of financial understanding and security. And then this goes back to that we show our students how things work through personal finance and making sure they make well-informed decisions. And we're going to talk about how we do that with the teachers and students. But next is how we equip our teachers. We have professional development. We have classes. Jay, that I believe is still on here, he is our guru in this, and he does all of our classes. We have classes on Saturdays and Tuesday afternoons and week-long courses. We have a list of them in a bit, but we have vetted professors that go in and teach our teachers to give them lesson plans and activities to do with the students. This is a little bit about our student programs. We take students out into real-world situations to explore careers and to learn about the economic system. This just goes a little bit more into our preparation that we do for a lifetime of skills for our kids. This is the multiplier effect where it kept going on me, but we have thousands of students in the end. If we take like one teacher and they have several students, whether it's elementary school, middle school, or high school, and then there's a multiplier effect. And so this is how we count how many students we reach over each year. And these are our stats for the last 5 years. So we started in 1971, and over the last 5 years, these are our statistics. But the big one is at the bottom, where we've reached 5 million students since we began in 1971, and we're really proud of that. And our teacher programs mentioned earlier, they're university accredited teachers, and we do both online and in person. And I believe we were made Zoom cool before Zoom was cool in the pandemic, because we were already doing hybrid courses. And we do this so that teachers in Gunnison and Grand Junction and other parts of Colorado can participate without having to drive to Denver. We are statewide, even though we're located here in Denver. So we want to make sure that we reach students and teachers all over the state. So that's why we have a lot of hybrid courses. These are the programs that I mentioned for our workshops. So we have a variety of them, and all throughout the year. The Cool Tools and Hot Topics is every other Tuesday for an hour. And those are always really hot topics, like the economics of Barbie. We've done some real topics that are very kind of current situation, so that teachers are interested and can take it right back to the kids, and that they'll be interested in it too. And all of these are on our website. Our student programs, the two big ones are stock market experience. We have about 12,000 kids going through the program. each year. We're just wrapping up the fall semester and the winners. So you take a group of kids in a class and give them investment knowledge, and then they play the game, and then they win at the end and get different prizes like donuts or Chipotle, depending on their age group. And then we have mentor teachers, business people that can go in the classroom and help with those programs. And then Invest in Girls is one that I just adore. It's taking 10 to 12th grade girls and teaching them about being the CFO of their life. But then they also get to go on industry tours and learn about jobs and finance. We've taken them to the airport recently to learn about jobs and finance and aviation. We've taken them to Ball Arena to learn about jobs and finance and sports, and also to financial sector so that they can learn that there's a finance job in every business and they could always have a job if they have this skill set. So we do summer symposiums as well, full day classes, and we're just growing that program a lot in the next year. The contests are really fun. For the teachers, we have an Enterprising Teacher of the Year. Our winner last year was from Elizabeth. And then for our students, we have an economics scholarship. What does economics mean to me? And he spoke at our Brews and Views event, and it was really well done. We have a video of him and his essay. And then we have a calendar contest, which is this picture. We have young kids do concepts in economics and turn them into us. And then we choose them and we make a calendar every year. Our calendar should be arriving this week for next year. So I'll make sure you get one. But it's really fun to look through all of their drawings and concepts and choose the winners because we get hundreds of them.
I love that.
Great. That is just an overview of Economic Literacy Colorado. There's 7 of us on our team. And so we're strong, mighty, but tiny. And we reach all corners of the state. And it's just a great mission. And we're all proud to work there.
You have been speaking to my heart. We absolutely 100% believe in economic literacy from the youngest to the oldest. And so I'm really excited about what you're doing. And we'll look into getting ourselves a calendar, and you need to send us some of those girls for interns. You do internships too now, don't you?
We have done a big grant request to start an internship program. So we hopefully will get the grant, and then we will have that internship program started next year. All of our programs can be found on our website. We have a lot of great videos as well, so you can see what we do through video, and then our social media, of course. We're on all of the social media. We have a board of directors who's very engaged and they love this mission. A lot of them come from the financial sector. We have a former Super Bowl Bronco on our board who believes that young athletes and pro athletes should have financial literacy. So it's just a great variety of leaders that support our mission. So, and a lot of great supporters out in the community like you guys.
Well, I love it. Are there volunteer opportunities? Do you need volunteers that maybe some of our listeners?
We do. We have different committees. So if you're interested in the education portion for our teachers, we have an education committee. We have an Invest in Girls committee if you're interested in that, a stock market committee, a business development committee. So if you have a good circle of influence and would like to help us raise money, you can join that committee. And then as people volunteer, they may be interested in being on the board eventually. So there's great committee opportunities. And then the fun ones are going into the classroom for the stock market experience, maybe doing a little lesson, or going in to present awards at the end of the year when they have a class that has a winner, and we take business people in there to give the awards with us and have the parties. And So that's fun. So there's always great things to do. We have 3 main events in 2024 that we're focusing on. In the spring, we're holding an Invest in Girls luncheon where it'll benefit all of our student programs. And we'll have a female speaker talking about how important it is to teach girls finance. And then in the summer, early summer, we have Brews and Views, which is a networking event for the business community to come together, learn about ELC. We always hold it in a beautiful space where you can see all of Denver and network with people in the financial sector. And then in the fall, we have our Focus on Finance event. Last year was a gala. In 2024, it'll be a luncheon. We're hoping we can get more business people to come out during the day to hear what we're doing. I know it's such a busy time in the fall. In the evening, it's hard for people to get away from their families. So we're changing that up a little bit. So 3 big events that will be highlighted in our newsletter and on our website soon.
Well, that's great. We'll go ahead and add those links to those things and volunteer opportunities for you at the bottom of this podcast as well. So thank you so much, Amy, for taking the time and chatting with us and giving us the benefit of your experience. We really appreciate it. I'm going to open it up for questions, if that's okay, if you've got just a few minutes. Riley, you're always good for a question.
You asked all the questions that I would normally ask, so it was great. I love the idea of taking the girls to the airport and finance and aviation, and I think that's fantastic. I wish I would have had something like that when I was younger.
Yeah, it was really fun. And the Denver Business Journal tagged along and wrote a great story about it. So we loved that. But it was great for me. I go to the airport all the time to travel, but it was great to see a tour of the airport. And there's an office building over the bridge, the A bridge, that I never even noticed. And now I know everything that goes on in there. And so I learned a ton. And the girls that came were from rural Colorado and Burlington and some other schools. So it was great for them to have a field trip and get to learn a lot about aviation and finance.
I heard one of your girls talk too, and what she said was something along the lines of, I didn't even know that there were so many opportunities in finance and that finance might be fun. And that is my life mission. Finance is fun. Nobody knows it, but it is so much fun.
Yeah, there's been a couple great ones during my 10 months here. One was Trinity, who went to the Denver School for the Arts, and she was a musician. And then when she went through Invest in Girls, she decided to major not only in music, but in finance, so that she could always manage her own finances when she wins a Grammy, she said. So that was fun to see. And then Alondra, that spoke at our event, she was the one that was she came to our event at Ball Arena because she likes the Nuggets and got a free ticket to see the Nuggets. But then it really changed her whole pathway in her life by learning about finance. So it's been cool to see the change in the girls.
Seriously, what a rewarding career. What a rewarding opportunity to be able to impact so many lives. That 5 million students mark, that's huge.
Amy, can I ask you a quick question?
You bet.
So, I want to make a comment first. We sponsored the Aspen Effect, and they're a nonprofit in Douglas County, and we did an investing class with a bunch of kids a couple of days after Thanksgiving. And you'd be proud of me. I created a trivia game, so we got them engaged, and our team has helped me with that a lot. Anyway, one of the things we did was a stock market game, and I'm actually a little disappointed to tell you that the winner of it so far invested in GameStop. So I feel like I didn't do a very good job teaching them. Because that person is still in first, but they're down like 15% today. Anyway, my question for you is, knowing your history of working with government officials and I would also say strong-minded men, and I'm sure you've had strong-minded women too. How do you navigate that as a woman in I think a lot of people don't want to come across in a certain way. So how would you recommend, how have you done that?
That's an interesting question. I think in the chamber and economic development space, I was around elected officials a lot. And when you get to know people that are elected at all levels, from city council to county to federal level, they're all just people in the end. And so sometimes people might think that they're, are afraid to talk to an elected official or don't know what to say, but they're all just people and they all have families and personal lives. And so my approach was always just to get to know them as a person and build trust, and then work through what I'm wanting to work through with them. Whether, like right now, we're starting to talk about possibly having a graduation requirement for personal finance in Colorado. It's an uphill battle because of local control in our state, but there's a lot of state reps, there's state senators that I know that I feel that I've built trust with over time, that I could call and have those conversations, female or males. I think having a strong female mother that was in a male dominated world helped me think that through. Where there was one thing I was going to mention earlier. She said to me when I was young, you need to learn to golf because a lot of business decisions happen on the golf course, or you'll be stuck at the office while everyone else is golfing. So I did take that to heart and learn to golf. But I just think I look at them as not male or female and just as a human and whatever position they're in, and build trust from there.
Thank you.
If we don't have any other questions, Amy, we're going to let you get going, but thank you so much for your time today. We've really appreciated your insight, and we fully support all that you're doing right now. So thank you so much. Let us know how we can help.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.